She just was not an echo chamber. You cannot have a mentor that just sits there and says, yes, yes, brilliant, great, great, cool, well done, Ray, you're just so cool, you're so awesome. Could you please put that on Instagram?
Welcome to Fika's Focus. Voices leading change.
To whom much is given, much is expected. Last Friday, I got the opportunity to go and sit down with a very old mentor of mine, Whaley. She is 81 years old. She was probably the reason for why I was so passionate about education, and a huge catalyst into the reasoning why I excelled very early on in my career. I was lucky enough to come across her in my second practicum when teachers go out into a school and they practice being a teacher, and she was in the new entrance class at that time, and she was just a phenomenal educator who really taught me so much about not only being an educator but also just about being a good person, about delivering results for children, and for absolutely making the opportunities come to the front every single day for those young learners. It was wicked to sit down and talk to someone who is very, very sharp, still at 81, and recollect some of the amazing opportunities that we built out together. First thing is, she was very clear that she's still the boss. I thought that was a very important piece to reiterate on, because when Courtney came and met her, it was clear that she still carried this tone of a new entrance teacher, but was a very warm heart who's been through some tough times recently with her husband passing away. She was still able to impart some real key knowledge for me and my continued career in education. I've been really lucky to have mentors like Jan in this space, and I want to analyze some of the aspects that made Jan a really powerful mentor. The first thing was, Jan was never afraid to say what she wanted to say. And she actually learned from me that actually I was never afraid to say what I wanted to say back. I'll give you a cool example. She actually recognized very early on that I had really poor handwriting. And I'll just show you the example. Well, it hasn't really much changed. But she recognized that my handwriting was very poor. I was writing on the board for 5-year-old kids at that time. I just started teaching, and she came in probably day 2 or day 3 of my career, and she said, "You need to stay behind after school today. You and I are going to practice handwriting." And we sat there for about 30 minutes practicing how to actually lean across and write on the board and make sure it's straight and make sure the letters look legible so that 5-year-olds could actually read what I was writing. The second best thing about having a mentor in that space is they actually know what steps are needed for you to progress next. So a good example with Jan was, she'd always say to me, "Right, this week I want you to A, B, C, and I want you to present reflection on A, B, C." And in that scenario, when we got to sit down on a Friday and actually talk through what we were planning to analyze and discuss, she sat and listened. She probed. She asked questions. She really dug more out of me and made me clarify my thinking around what it is I was trying to achieve when executing on some of those aspects of the classroom management, or delivering on reading or writing programs or maths programs, or what I was trying to achieve in running this sports program and this peer program, or why was I doing this and this and this and this. It was a cool opportunity to sit in with a mentor, with someone like Jan, who could really just build an environment that just allowed me to really unpack what I was trying to think. The next thing is, and this is a real key part to any sort of mentor, is she just was not an echo chamber. You cannot have a mentor that just sits there and says, yes, yes, brilliant, great, great, cool, well done, Ray, you're just so cool, you're so awesome. Could you please put that on Instagram? You can't have that person. Jan was the first person to tell me I was doing a great job, and the first person to tell me that that was poor, that didn't go well, that you needed to do better, you needed to think through that a bit more, you need to not hurry as much, or you need to hurry more. She was that person who would tell me exactly what was needed at the time. And because of that, it made me very good at making decisions. It supported me in creating opportunities where I could push ahead and analyze and push ahead and analyze and push ahead and analyze. And ultimately, I believe Jan's impact on that space of decision making, because she was not an echo chamber, but she was challenging my thinking instead of just patting me on the back, telling me how cool I was, really has built me into who I am today. That is a confrontational style. It is a very confrontational style of being mentored. And if you can't deal with being confronted, then probably you should not have a mentor, and maybe you should go and figure out for yourself why you don't like being confronted. What I loved about it is Jan and I would argue. That is a thing that's what makes us so close even today. We would argue about our points of view. She was a hugely experienced teacher that was desperate to really bring the best out of me, and I was a very young, enthusiastic teacher that was desperate to learn all I could from her. And that came from these little confrontations, these arguments. We were never disrespectful to each other, but of course we got into arguments because I came in with some of the new world thinking. She was from an old school type thinking, and we were going out and combining it and seeing what really worked. Because I can tell you, and I got affirmed of this the other day when catching up with Jan, she learned a lot from me. There was an era there where technology was really coming in. All of a sudden, teachers had laptops and smart boards and all this sort of stuff, and that wasn't suiting her style of teaching. But we together were able to work on utilising those sorts of products together too, so that we could bring the best out of each other and ultimately results for children. I started this podcast by saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. And when I talk about much is given, I'm talking about the experiences that I have been given from the likes of Jan Whaley, from Gary Henley Smith, from Ian Taylor, Junior Paylor, some of them, Dave Burt. These were all educators, and Jadid. These were all educators that sat around me that were able to actually challenge what I was thinking, what I was doing, why I was doing that. They weren't echo chambers. They weren't people who were just, I'll just go with Ray and then behind my back go and do something else. They were actually there for a co-constructed development opportunity. And because of that, it is my responsibility to go out and now provide those sorts of scenarios for our young teachers and for our people. A cool example that I can give you, we have really run down some channels with some new products that we're really excited to eventually get out. And yesterday I was with some of our team at Livingston Drive, and Renee had freed them up so we could sit down and just have a conversation, a korero, about some of the stuff that they were experiencing and what our products were doing to enhance that situation. It only happens when I spend more time with certain people that they start to feel like they can say something. And I have to work on that myself. I have to work on being able to quickly build rapport so that people feel like they can say whatever they want to say. But in the situation alone yesterday, it was cool to hear some of the feedback about what we're doing that might not have been so nice, which is all good with me, because we're building a product and we're testing something, and we want to take all feedback we can, especially all the not nice stuff, so we can actually work on it. But when we've got someone coming in a mentor state like myself, where I'm being able to talk through the learnings that they are experiencing with a child or with their teammate or whatever it is, help them digest it, challenge, draw some lines in the sand about certain things, probe and question, seek to understand, all those sorts of aspects. All I get to do there is exactly what Jan Whaley started for me all those years ago in 2004. I get to be the person that gets to hopefully bring out the best in that individual in that time, in that day, in that moment. As a mentor that can come in and out and have an objective view of what's going on, because I'm not in their classroom all the time, but I get to come in and bring my own experiences of education and hear them out and what they're up to, it provides me great joy that I can actually go in and give the opportunities and experiences that I was afforded when I was a young teacher, when I was a teacher trying to change the world, when I was an educator that was out there pushing the boundaries, really trying to build the best experiences for kids. I'm really grateful for Jan. She's recently lost her husband to a debilitating, horrible dementia piece, and Jan was still upbeat, sharp, very grounded, in some ways still the same, but in many ways different. But she was still this light in my life that I adore. And when I think to that smiling, beautiful face of Jan's at 81 years old and how knowledgeable she is, I hope to be that person still for many people in the future. That started yesterday, that starts today, that will continue tomorrow. That the amount of interactions I get to have with the people that are in this circle, that are in our, whether it's future focus or other aspects, I really do work hard to be an individual that people can rely on, can lean on, can come to for advice, can disagree with, can challenge and push, can maybe even just outright blow up at me because I could get in the way or do things. I want to be that person because Jan Whaley was that person for me. She started my career in the way that I could have only dreamed, that I only realised now after catching up with her after so long. The start that she gave me in my career is what has contributed massively to my continued passion to building environments for people to thrive, for people to win, and ultimately for children to have the best outcomes when they're under our wing, in terms of the early learning settings and beyond. I'm really thankful for that small interaction, which was an hour and a half, but it really renewed, reinvigorated a lot of what I think around building environments to help people thrive and help people win. And ultimately, it was having access to the riches that gave me the best start that I could, and ultimately, or hopefully, will continue to build the next generation or two or three of outstanding educators coming out of Future Focus Early Learning and going into the sector and into the world to create meaningful change. Up the wires. I had to breathe a little bit there. I was getting a bit teary.